Hello everyone, welcome to the Jenkins Infrastructure Weekly Team Meeting. Today we are the 18th of February 2025. Around the virtual table we have myself, Damien Duportal, Jay Reddy, Mark White, Stéphane Merle, and Bruno Verharten. Hello everyone. So starting with announcements. So last week the weekly release happened without any issue. So you can check the reference on our Matrix Elements channel. This week, 2.498 started on time, should be deployed later today. It's currently running at 2 hours and a half. So yep, everything is doing fine in the scope of weekly releases. Any question related to weekly releases? Nope. Okay. Then outages. We had an outage on the VPN. So the only impacted person were the ones trying to access private resources. So Stefan did discover that it wasn't the CRL rotation, but we had a 3 years old valid expired certificate. So it has been renewed and applied. So we had a postmortem written explaining the steps. And we have a calendar event for in 3 years. We didn't had any other outages. Do you have questions or things I could miss around outages?
So I assume our progress on ci.jenkins.io will come later in the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So on the usual announcement, yes, CI Jenkins IO is now running in AWS since last Thursday. It took us a few hours because we took our time, but that's okay. We saw a few minor hiccups and performance issues, but overall it's doing fine. The two main areas of concern right now are first, the bomb builds that are still a bit annoying, but we are back to the same amount of time and instability as what we had before the migration. And we are still using, or again using Windows virtual machines instead of Windows container for some builds. That creates problems on some plugins. The main challenge here is that these virtual machines have more power than the former container agents. So tests that rely on concurrency and that are badly shaped, I like to call them tests that should be deleted immediately because they make no sense. I mean, a test that change if you add power means, okay, you are not testing what you are expecting to test, so better not to test it and assume it's not complete. But also that some Windows build seems to have issue with encoding. And since we used to have nano server container image with a certain encoding setup, and now we have Windows Server Core virtual machines with another set of encodings, if the tests again are a bit light in terms of checking which kind of encoding, or if they were making strong assertion on the environment on which they run, then issues. For the rest, we see the performances are a bit slower as expected than they used to be. We have improvement, but these are optimization and shouldn't be blockers unless we miss something else. Mark, Bruno, is that the thing you consider as user or so other users complaining about blockers or
Yes.
other
So
kind of issues?
the two, so I've got there I monitor a set of about 150 plugins,
Mm-hmm.
150 something plugins, and in that set of 150 there were four that were failing.
Mm-hmm.
And those four failures I've investigated two. And both two of the four were the two that were are fixed now or have fixes were both related to increasing the allowable range for timing inside the test. So except that the current environment is in some cases slower than the old environment was. So that's no shock. Those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Timing dependencies creep into tests like this all the time, right? That's the nature of it. I don't feel at all bad about that. Yes, it's imperfect. yes, it's flawed, but once we understand it, we can handle it. It's complicated in that I can't duplicate the problem, nor can any other developer on Windows duplicate the problem because our machines are by their nature fast, right? They're quick
Yep.
with high performance drives, etc.
That
So,
that's why we do CI, because that means
right.
if CI has that problem, user will have that problem.
Some exactly. So
Um,
yeah.
One rule of thumb here for both you, Bruno and Mark,
Hmm.
if you see that kind of weird behavior, if there is no obvious immediate thing such as, oh, ACP is now failing because in AWS it's different or whatever, if you don't see any obvious reason, an important part is try to keep the failing build and add an issue on helpdesk or comment on the existing issue with a link to the kept build. It's really important for us because we need to look at the agent metrics to understand what will be the limiting resource, if
Hmm.
any. Because
Ah,
when I say we expect slowness, that's an expectation. But until now, we didn't had any hard proof that it was slower, except the controller. The controller is suffering from thread locks, most probably related to the EC2 plugin. Other than that, we don't see any hard proof that things are slower, except we are under the impression it's slower, but we don't have metrics, we don't have hard facts. And without hard facts, it's really hard to know in which direction. We cannot just throw CPU and memory. That won't solve the issue if it's IO bound, for instance.
hmm. Right. Okay, so just to be sure, that's good insight. So the the first plugin that I fixed,
Mhm.
it had failures on the 13th and the 15th and has one success on the 16th. Is that timeline too far in the past for it to be useful for you?
Um, I I don't know. The thing
Okay.
is, we need a link to a
I
build that is kept.
I can give you I can retain those builds. I have multiple builds, so it sounds like I'll create the issue for it. That way you've got it. Then I'll rely on you to clear those retained build flags so that we don't keep them forever. Is that okay?
Um, I don't mind because if it's on an issue, the idea is that if you create an issue, we will
Mhm.
investigate, and once the solution is found, we will have the responsibility of removing the lock on the build.
Great, perfect. I just don't want to keep those builds for me are actually junk. They're not terribly useful, but for you it sounds like they are useful. So
Yep.
I'll create the issue and with that way we can track it. So I've got one that is yeah, we've got two that have been investigated and both of them the resolution was adjust the test to allow for a slower execution environment.
Okay. So it's important for diagnostic because in the logs we see and we can identify the agent in which it ran.
Okay. Mm.
Um, we can't search. We can try to search which bill ran on what, but the amount of data is really hard, and it's way more efficient for us to have the link because we can immediately jump, see the what was the agent, see if we have metrics, and what are the recommendation.
Great. Okay, so I will happily provide you the the kept builds.
Mhm. Because the analysis and the kind of metrics to look on are really different if it's a virtual machine or if it's a container first, and if it's Linux and Windows, of course.
Okay, and so I've got just to be sure, so
Mhm.
I've got one where I have four example builds that were all passing Linux, failing Windows, and when I
Mhm.
adjust the timing, now Windows passes consistently. So all those kept builds are good for you in case one of them you can do deeper analysis.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Great.
if the
Okay.
timing is slow on Windows, that means we need to look at the Windows agent metrics and see what was the limiting.
Okay, good. And now the next question then one of the five builds in the history of this
Mhm.
particular thing failed on Linux, but I've seen only one failure on Linux in those 5 runs, so I am ignoring it for now. Is that okay, or do you want me to retain that one as well? I am far less concerned about Linux. I've got a pattern of Windows failures on 2 different jobs, etc. So is it okay if I ignore Linux for now, unless I
Yes,
start seeing a pattern?
yes, unless you see seeing a pattern,
Okay.
having in mind that we have enabled spot instances on Linux container. So if the label of Linux is Maven dash something and it's not using virtual machine, so it's not running Docker commands usually, then what can happen is that we might have machines that have been reclaimed. That's possible. Or we were operating CI Jenkins IO a bit roughly in the past days.
Yeah. So in this case, it wasn't yeah, I will, good. So I'm going to continue my pattern of the strongest patterns I will flag as issues. If I
Mhm.
see something that is a very rare thing, I'm not going to bother you with it. Great. Thank you.
That's all for me on CI Jenkins IO. Bruno, Stefan, Kevin, Jay, do you have something else on this particular topic?
No, thanks.
Cool. Another announcement, it's more reminder, I'm off next week and until the 3rd March included. So Stefan volunteered to lead both the infra meeting next week and leading the weekly release next Tuesday. I don't think we have a specific topic related to that unless you have. So thanks, Stefan, for volunteering on this one. Okay, so let's have a look at the upcoming calendar unless someone has another announcement to make. Nope. Okay. So next week we will have a weekly release that should be Jenkins 2.499, 25 February. Next LTS is scheduled for the 5th of March. That release will be led by Chris Stern. That should be 2.492.2. Everyone will be there, so no specific care on the infra part. We don't have any publicly announced Jenkins advisory. That's also good. Really, regarding the upcoming credential expirations, at least the one that we can catch, not like the VPN certificate. Um, 25 February, so next Tuesday, the Azure Service Principal used by Packer expires. Stefan already created an issue and is on it. The 3rd March 2025, we will have Update Center signing certificate expiring. It means on the 3rd of March, Update Center build will start failing and we can adjust one parameter to make it run for a few days. The real expiration is in April. That's a safety system to avoid breaking everything. Ideally, we should try to rotate this one before I'm gone. We want to check if I'm a spoff on this one or not. So we will check Stefan and I. Some parts might require me because I think it required the authority, the key, the private key of the certificate authority, which is something renewed only every 10 years. So less person have access to it, the better it is. However, all the other steps should be run by Stefan, so we know that we limit the SPOF area. We didn't work on it last milestone because we already did the same kind of exercise regarding the Vault release credential. And so we can conclude that I'm not a SPOF for the Jenkins release Vault credential. Stefan was able to do everything by himself. So thanks, Steph. And the release was able to retrieve the Vault earlier today. So it should be okay. We will wait for the whole release to conclude, but that should be okay. The 7th March 2025, we will have 2 credentials that will expire on Infra CI, the Netlify token used to deploy the preview websites or some websites on Netlify, and NPM token, which is used by the Jenkins component and another artifact, I don't remember which one, they won't be able to be deployed to NPM registry. These one are easy. The goal is to have ideally Stefan doing that. So again, we confirm that I'm not alone having done this renewal once. I don't have other upcoming credential failure on my site. Do you folks? Nope. Okay.
Oh, well, so
Yep.
actually, I take it back. I've got one, but it's roughly a year away. It just is a big deal. So
Mhm.
in 2026, the code signing certificate that we use for to sign the MSI and the WAR file will
Mhm.
expire. Uh, we'll want to 3 months from now or 4 months from now, maybe 6 months from now, um, start the renewal process because the last time we did it, it was painful. But it's already on our calendar. So I was made aware of it because I worried, oh, is it expiring in 2025? No, it's expiring in 2026.
Cool. Just for the sake of my memory, was it? Yeah, it's something that need to be paid. It's a specific
It
certificate
is.
provider.
It was last time it was about $1,500 paid by the Jenkins project,
Wow.
and it is absolutely has to be paid, and otherwise the Windows users won't install the product. So it's crucial that we have it, and the Jenkins project happily pays the amount. So there's no question
Okay.
there. It's worth it.
Thanks for the reminder. When should we put this one in the
If
calendar?
I think if
September?
we put it, yes, September is great.
Okay.
That's probably more than soon enough.
That's a 10-year certificate?
3.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it was 2023 last time it happened. Yeah,
Right.
already.
So I
Time
remember
flies.
you paid. I remember, Mark.
Well, and we have better experience with getting reimbursements. They work faster now. So that was a very slow, painful process last time. It's much less painful now.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. And I don't think we have major event incoming related to the infra SIG. Other calendar or credential note, folks? Nope. Okay. So let's have a quick look at the budgets. On the Azure CDF normal account, everything is fine. We have consumed 2.5. The forecast is at 4.1. Big less than previous months, but of course we are February, so that's expected to consume less in February. We have less days. Next one on Azure sponsorship. So we had to accelerate the migration of CI Jenkins IO, so we were sure not to consume all of our credits. So we are on the right direction, except this morning when I checked these metrics, I realized that we had a bunch of dead virtual machines, CI Jenkins IO hold agents still up. I thought they would be deleted, but they did not. I don't know why. So I removed them because I was trying to check the consumption by area of 2 days, and I saw it was lower but still high. It was like 700 for 2 days instead of 900, which is lower, clearly visible. We see a visible decrease, but yeah, that was weird. So now it has been removed, so we will check tomorrow. In any case, the risk of exhausting the credits is gone. We don't know what will be the rate without CI Jenkins IO because we still have agent of Infra CI and Third CI and Trusted CI running on it and some part of the update center. But still, we have 9,000 credits, so we should be fine until for March and April as per the current consumption. Digital Ocean is doing fine. A slight increase in the forecast. Oh, I realize uh, I've updated the other one. Okay, sorry. I don't remember the consumption. I edited the wrong chart notes, but we were at around 231 in the forecast. So a slight increase due to the Cloudflare outage from 2 weeks ago. We still have 14.9K credits until January 2026, so we are clearly fine. On AWS, things are also going fine on CloudBees. We are still below the 600 per month. We haven't acted on this, so it's expected. It's steady. If we want to get rid of these less than 600 credit amounts, we have 2 free virtual machines to move. But right now, it wasn't our priority. Finally, we see a slight increase on the sponsored account. We have consumed 3.3K on the AWS sponsored account. The forecast is around 5, and it will most probably be a big higher. Of course, because a lot of people run a lot of bomb builds, but not only. It's just I can if it's not the bomb, it's DNS. That should be our t-shirts for the whole team.
So that's AWS where
Yes.
we've got good deep credit pool available. Now, our credit pool there ends May, June, what?
So I checked earlier, end of January, we had the first 60K of credits that expired. So we consumed 3 of these 60K.
Okay.
So end of January, it was 55 left on 31 January 2025.
Okay.
And now we have a brand new set of 6K. But I was shocked by I need to check, but I'm sure I've read 2027. So
Okay,
at
so
least we are covered for the year.
we've got 60K, but the expiration date is not very soon.
Exactly.
Excellent. That's very good. Okay. That my worry was if I mean, 60K may not be enough to cover us, right? Because we run, at least on Azure, we were running 10,000 a month, if I remember right.
Exactly. So that means we have at least 6K in front of us before we need
Right.
to act.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So are there questions on the cloud budgets? I haven't added to the process, Mark, the Artifactory metrics. That will be a topic for March.
Okay.
I've added in the issue though a reporting just to give feedbacks to Doreen.
Great.
The goal is, so for Stefan and Jay, think about that. You will have to remind me, and you are designated volunteer to help me. When I'm back, we will have to check JFrog platform to see if we can give you, the two of you, and to Mark as well, access to the JFrog platform, not Artifactory, but JFrog platform, in which we have metrics, at least in read-only. So all of us will be able to, every week, when reporting the cloud credits, will also be able to report the consumption on Artifactory. We will need to track this at least weekly. The reason is because with the recent discussion we had with JFrog wanted us to decrease our usage, we need to track both storage and outbound bandwidth. We have seen great improvement, but we need to be sure that we don't go back to the situation in December, January, or 2 years ago. Okay, other question on cloud budget announcement, or can we go on the operational tasks? 1, 2, 3, okay. On the set of issues we were able to finish, so we had the post-mortem on the VPN one. Everything has been fixed, and we know it won't happen again unless we stop using the Google Calendar. Thanks, Stefan. We had a new Jenkins security team user who will work on the upcoming tasks they have to run in the future, and they require access to cert CI and release CI. So thanks, Jay, for helping them and pointing them to the right resources. We had to double check because we weren't sure given the user GitHub handle, but that has been confirmed by both Vadek and Daniel through private channels. So that user is legit and we gave them access, so everything should be okay. Stefan, Jay, did I forget something on the 2 VPN issues? Cool. Thanks, Mark, for solving that Twitter thing. Sorry, I can't call it X. It's not possible. But it looks like it works, so good.
Well, so Bruno, that means you and I have to pin new tweets in order to
I
keep
can't.
that.
I don't have the access.
Oh, you don't
but
have access. Okay, so
no.
you
But
can't
you could give it to me. I don't mind.
You can't. Okay, so we need to request that. That's yeah. You should certainly be allowed to post to Twitter. Great. All right.
Thank you.
By the way, we have a technique to have a shared 2FA authentication that we use on many tools in the Jenkins Infra platform. So if you're interested, that could be useful, but that requires a command line. So that's okay for the two of you. I don't know if it's okay
But
for
Lisa,
Alisa.
yeah. Not so sure. Depends on the command line.
Yeah,
Mark, you're
needs
muted.
discussion. Needs discussion.
Yeah.
Yep. You know it exists.
I'm not
Thank you.
I'm not overly worried about putting two-factor on the Twitter account, but good question. They certainly complain to me when I log in saying you don't have two-factor enabled.
Yeah.
Okay, when I log in as Jenkins, because my personal account I think does have two-factor. Okay.
Stefan, you were able to fix the crawler last remaining issue in an easier way than we initially planned. So that's good. Everything has been described in the issue. Takeaway is that that was worth asking for help on the Cloudflare discourse forum because they gave an answer. And with one flag on the AWS S3 command, we were able to solve the problem. Of course, it also allowed us to provide and update AWS CLI on the update center because we were using an old version that was working, but still now it's up to date. So thanks, Stefan, for that work. Anything else on the support tasks that we were able to complete? Okay, so we had 2 updates. One credential expiration, the Azure Vault credential. So today should demonstrate it work as expected. And we also were able to upgrade Datadog plugin during the CI Jenkins IO migration. We didn't have to perform a backup this time because we had an updated plugin on AWS and not on Azure, and we had the backup on Azure. So yeah,
So we had the backup.
and it was multi-region, perfect backups, right? Okay, so Artifactory storage and bandwidth use. So Darren helped us a lot, and we were able to achieve. We are below the 5 terabyte storage. We are using 4.1 or 4.2. There are now 2 tasks regarding storage. One that has been created as a new issue is apply an automatic garbage collect of incremental, because the work that was done on this one is an initial deletion, step by step, to avoid killing Artifactory instance or its disk. So Darren took extra care on this part to avoid creating mayhem on our builds. So thanks, Darren, for that special care. But now we need something to automate the deletion because we deleted 2.5 terabyte and no 1.5 on this one. Now we just have to delete every week what has been created 1 week 3 months ago, but it has to be automated and decided on which frequency. So I guess the new issue is also for Darren, Mark, is that correct?
Yes,
Cool.
that's correct. Yes.
And of course, we were able, after many adventures, but again, thanks Darren, and we can thanks Chifro for the help. Now Atlassian Mirror only mirrors a few subsets of artifacts. So now that allow to remove a lot of storage and even more bandwidth. So that's good news. Looks like the storage of com/Atlassian potentially could still be terabytes in the future. So we might need to put some garbage collecting elements.
Well, so Darren's already narrowed the includes.
Mhm.
So as far as I know,
Cool.
he's got us to a safe point where
Perfect.
we don't expect to accumulate the 4 terabyte repository again. But as you said, we have to monitor it.
Yep. So we have to monitor it. The actions looks good enough. We have to confirm with JFrog. I'm still worried about we need at the moment on time trying to determine why the count we use, why must we use this public repo while there might be a shorter repo with only Atlassian artifacts because we don't have a lot of plugins, they don't have a lot of Atlassian dependencies, so we should be able to narrow this element if needed. Maybe it was already done with the work of Darren. This I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
it was good enough.
I think his narrowing is already now it may be that there's a different source, but his narrowing is already for me even better than choosing a different source because I'd rather not copy things from Atlassian that
Makes
don't
sense.
directly benefit Jenkins, right?
Makes sense.
I'm not interested in us helping their bandwidth needs.
Cool. So that means by transitivity, we have two other issues that have been fixed related to either projects getting older dependency than expected because they were going through our mirrors that weren't updated immediately, and some Maven Central artifacts that were downloaded unexpectedly from repo Jenkins CI due to the Atlassian proxy. So this problem should not happen. If they happen again, please feel free to reopen the issue and give us details. But yeah, we were able to locate exhaustively all the artifacts pointed on the two issues to be present on the Atlassian public repo before Darren's work. So that's all for me. I just wanted to show on the top level issue. Let me open it if I can find it again. Where is artifact? Okay, let me open for this one. There was a link to a top level. No, that's not the one. Parent here, yes. Okay, last diagrams. So first storage. So you see the deletion that happened softly, and now we are at 4.1 confirmed by JFrog. And if you look at the outbound bandwidth downloaded by people outside on repo Jenkins CI, here I filtered only on the Atlassian repositories. We used to have 5, we have now 4. As you can see, that drastically changed since a few days. So you can see, you can clearly determine which day Darren did the last fix.
Right, but so this is not the total bandwidth. This is
No.
just for those specific repositories.
Yeah, but it was to
Okay.
give you an order of magnitudes.
Yeah, which is great. Thank you. It's just I had made the flawed assumption this was a total bandwidth use graph, and it's like we might be under the 10 terabyte threshold they said, but the answer is no, we're still not under 10 terabytes
No.
probably.
Here
Okay.
is the total bandwidth. And
And
even though
there
we
we are.
see great change, so we have to wait though, because
Right.
we also, if we have external people having a Nexus Artifactory mirroring everything on repo Jenkins CI, we need a few days before they start having errors like, oh, that Maven clean plugin is not provided anymore. It's 404, so they will change the priority rule to go first on Maven Central and then on repo. So right now they might be dumbly duplicating everything on their own every day, hence the variation. But right now, the big pink one on this diagram is releases repository. And it can go from 6 gigabytes per day to 1.2 terabytes per day, only on this one. So worst case, if we are 1.2 terabytes per day, that means we are between 30 and 40 terabytes of download just of releases per month.
which may mean we're going to have to do another bandwidth reduction project to identify with logs who the guilty party is.
Yes.
We had that, we know how to do that drill. It's just we'd rather not do it again if we could avoid it.
Honestly, if we need that, I honestly think we should reconsider using a JFrog managed sponsored instance. Because that means we will start to put some overly complicated rules and monitoring. Well, I mean, we learned 2 years ago that contacting the culprits has almost no effects, right? So there are no solution, and that will start to be complicated with JFrog because they will, at a moment in time, saying, hey, we cannot pay for you. So we might need to either be proactive and propose them solutions such as the mirror bits one, or think about having our own Artifactory protected by a mirror bits instance or a CDN or something. But honestly, that one looks really, really complicated and dangerous for Jenkins project to me. And I would rather think about hosting our own Artifactory instead.
Okay.
So that's worth discussing with them, but yeah, to have
Great.
in mind.
All right.
So the next steps will be in 2 weeks, starting to get access to everyone and have these metrics part of our weekly release. And that's all on the Artifactory tasks that were finished. We still have some to do. Any question on the finished Artifactory tasks? Okay, so CI Jenkins IO, no need to spend time. We move the controller and we still have tasks to do. Now, work in progress. Any question on the finished task? Did I forget something? Nope. Okay, next one. Then on the work in progress, we have Packer credential as mentioned. We have an issue. It will be on the new milestone. Is that correct, Stefan? Cool. We need a new issue for the other credential. I will take care of creating the issue and we will rotate it in the upcoming days. Reminder that we had artifact caching proxy issues on Azure for CI Jenkins IO that were blocking BOM releases 2 or 3 weeks ago. During the first demo, we had long discussion and team did build a proof of concept with Job Cacher plugin. I made a counter proposal that required waiting for migration to AWS. The idea will be to have another kind of caching. My proposal is that we can close the top level issue instability of artifact caching proxy and focus on the Maven dependency client-side caching because it's specific to the BOM. We can change the implementation, but the top level topic is the same. Especially because I haven't seen any artifact caching proxy issue on Amazon. I don't know if you remember, but 1.5 years ago, when we had agents everywhere, usually we didn't have a lot of issues or almost no issue on ACP on Amazon while we were having on DigitalOcean and Azure. So most probably there is something related in the Kubernetes internal network because it has a different and more efficient implementation on Amazon. So hence my proposal, that can be challenged of course. We can close ACP because the big amount of BOM builds will run like thousands of agents at the same time downloading things on ACP on Amazon did not crash the current ACP system. So my proposal is that we say, consider the implementation good enough, and we will still keep working on caching on client side because we know it will have a positive effect on the time of the BOM build in any case. So it's valuable to keep working on this one. Is that okay for you? And no news on the infrastat part. It's just a placeholder. Andrew is still doing back and forth between his old and new house, so he's not having his machine already set up and ready to do the last thing. I propose we will start pinging him middle of March. Is that okay for everyone? Okay.
Yeah, I wish it were sooner than that, but I think it's practical.
Yep.
I'm missing more and more. I'm missing the data. I'm feeling its absence by, oh, whoops, I don't know how
Mm.
we're doing on this or that data point. Yeah, but
Yep.
March
I, gue-
is what we got to do.
I guess we have to plan for April or May with Andrew a session in which we learn what is doing, what are the requirements, so we can build the same thing
Right.
in the infra. That one should be easy. Okay, CI Jenkins IO. Right now, top level work is spent on being able to run Windows container agents. Windows is a pain, we know that. We are deep inside that kind of pain. So we are successfully able to start Windows container in which DNS resolution is not working, of course. Other than that, we are almost there. Oh, by the way, once again, virtual machines are faster to start than container. So, yep. Yes, of course. Because same situation as the packaging of Jenkins releases. When you need a new agent of type Windows container, the system need to spin up a node and then pull the image and then start the process. All of three for the first one takes 4 to 5 minutes. Good news. So it's a different behavior than the ACI system. Here, the first request, if you don't have any nodes, takes time. However, we try to keep the node alive for 30 minutes before deciding if they need to be put down or kept. So if you are the second or the third one, you are lucky because your container will start in less than 20 seconds.
Right.
As an order of magnitude, the Windows virtual machine agent starts in 30 to 90 seconds, including agent startup. There might be optimization. We are working on them. One is the ECR pull-through cache. So we have the Docker registry that act as a mirror to avoid being rate limited by Docker Hub. We consider we consider it a first-class citizen, and we don't like rate limits, and we don't want Docker Hub to go away or to be paid. So that's a good thing. However, we could use ECR pull-through cache for the image of the pod agent that we use because we control the name of these Docker images, so we can use ECR. Since both Linux bomb builds, usual containers, and Windows download an image that is 2 to 3 gigabytes, that might be interesting to think about having a local cache of these images. That's the goal. Finally, we have a lot of tiny cleanup tasks that will need to be tracked on a subsequent issue. My mission, this milestone, is to write the issue, and we will work on it in 2 weeks. We have to decommission the old Azure CI Jenkins IO machine. Right now it's stopped. Remove all the resources. And we have a few Helm chart fixes and update CLI manifest to do before closing everything. Are there any questions or things to add? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next big and important topic is Kubernetes 1.30. Stefan, what are the plans?
Oh, the plan are easy. We set up we already installed the kubectl command. It's up to date on the agents through Packer image. So we are now using the 1.30, and we have a look on the change log, and so that it seems that nothing should go in the middle of our migration. And we did sort the different cluster that we have from the less dangerous one to the more dangerous one. We should start today with the one that is still used, still present on the Azure account, but not used anymore due to the migration. Like that, we can have a first test version of a grade. And then we will proceed with the Infra CI cluster that is used for the agents. This one is a little specific because it needs us to run the Kubernetes migration by hand manually and not through the CI, because the CI is run through an agent that is on that cluster. So we don't want the cluster to kill himself. And then we will go step by step to the other cluster used by CI Jenkins IO, which is on AWS now, the new one, and then private K8s and public K8s that should take place on Thursday morning for the private K8s. That will be the full test run for the public K8s, which is the more important for us as it hosts the public services that we use for Jenkins. And as you can see, I try to do everything this week because Damien is still around. Of course, the most important phase will be to add the logo, but we will have to wait for Friday or Thursday night. That okay for everyone? Good.
I didn't catch if you mentioned the PVC migration on the LDAP.
No, I didn't. I forgot that one. You catch, Damien, that we are using a PVPVC for LDAP backup that will trigger a limit for the new migration on Kubernetes 1.30. We need to migrate that one to the CSI because it's not using CSI. So we need to migrate that to CSI like the other ones. So that must take place before the migration. And the good news is that it's on Damien's end. But we did already. I think it's not too hard.
Mhm. Absolutely. Thanks, Stefan. That's all on the Kubernetes 1.30. Are there any questions, folks? Nope. Okay. Cool. Please take extra care. We will need to be careful on the new one, the new EKS cluster, because we forgot how to upgrade an EKS cluster. There's been 1.5 years since last time, especially since now that cluster has way more components than what we used to have, especially the images, eventually Windows. So maybe we will discover something that will be surprisingly updated. So worth making an announcement in CI Jenkins IO.
Okay, so for sure this one will take place tomorrow.
Yep. Okay. I propose I let you prepare the announcement and make the announcements for Publicate, and I will take care of CI Jenkins IO since I'm already working on Windows. Is that okay for you,
Okay.
Stefan?
Okay.
Are there any question on Kubernetes? Okay. We had three other issues that has been delayed. They will most probably be until March. Decommissioning of leftovers on update Jenkins IO. We focus on CI Jenkins IO. Monitor builds on our private instances. So Jay did work on the prerequisites, but to avoid being thrown on the water before learning to swim, we as a team discussed and decided that first Jay will work on an update CLI pipeline library improvement before working on this one, which require writing a pipeline library from scratch. So Jay feels better. So update CLI pipeline library has a bit less value for the team. It has value, just less than this one, but Jay feels safe. We will see what Jay is able to do in the upcoming days, and we will confirm that assumption Friday or during the next team meeting. Stefan will be the voice here. Is that okay for everyone? So this one will be delayed in 2 weeks. Finally,
So
I've delayed. Yep.
sorry.
So go
You
ahead.
can move the new issue to 3H, the first line to there, because that's what you just said.
Yep. But these are the work in progress. It's not the same. We have not started 3H. These are two distinct topics. One last delayed issue that we were working on, the Akun tap replacement with most probably Keycloak or maybe GoAuthentic. I haven't heard from Philip since the past 2 weeks. So yep, we will need to reconsider that when I'm back from holidays or next week. I will let you decide, folks. It was on the part of trying to spin up a recent Keycloak version on an empty cluster. We will see what we can do on that topic. Right now, I propose we delay for 2 weeks. No objection? Okay. I haven't heard back from Philip. What? Okay. I type things and they were removed. Okay, I'm having a keyboard issue. You can still hear me, folks?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Yes.
Okay. What? Okay, let me just move to my laptop keyboard. Okay, the problem is not my keyboard. Can you type in the note, folks? I can't, looks like I can't type anymore.
You want me to take over note taking? I can do the typing for you.
Yeah, if you don't mind, because
Sure.
it's doing weird thing.
Great.
Cool. So we have a few new issues to 3H. So as Stefan said, that's one update CLI. We can move it on the next milestone, 141, a bit below. So that is a wrapper issue for J that points to 2 features to implement on the pipeline library that will solve 2 distinct problems for us. The first problem, and the easiest one to tackle, Jay, so both of these problems have a corresponding issue on pipeline library. Here, it's just a placeholder for you to have something in the team helpdesk milestone, okay? So the first one is we want to add a new feature on the update CLI library that will allow us to specify a custom version of update CLI to use. The goal is when there is a new update CLI release that features breaking changes, we want to be able to test this specific one on a few repositories on which we know it could break, without having to release everywhere the default update CLI version. So that's an attribute, and the goal is then changing the library so that it will download the specific version of the node in which it's running. I've given all information in the issue. Stefan should be able to help you. I can while I'm here, of course. We expect you to write unit testing. You don't need to test everything, but meaningful unit test, as we discussed. The second feature that we expect is to allow update CLI pipeline library not to spin up a node. We want, by default it should, but we want an attribute, a Boolean attribute or something like that, that say, hey, please take care of running on the current environment. I've given 2 example pipeline that should be fixed with that new feature. So we can run a few custom commands before calling update CLI, and this command setting up cloud credential that should work out of the box. So these are real life and valuable examples for the team. Is that okay for you, Jay?
Yeah, that's okay with me.
Cool.
I think with Stefan's help, I would be able to do this in the time that you're gone.
Perfect. Your mission here right now in the upcoming 2 days is to read the issue and see what you are missing. If you are missing something or if you need additional pointers.
Yeah.
Thanks. Next issue that will also be put on the upcoming milestone is for Darwin Pop. It's to work on adding an automatic garbage collect of the incremental repository. As we said, he already did the initial deletion, and now we know that we are okay to delete artifacts that are older than 90 days on that particular repository. So we will have to discuss and implement. Should we run that garbage collect once a day, once a week, once a month, and then we will implement it.
And I assume that the location for that is infra.ci, or is the location a point of discussion as well?
Yep. No, it shouldn't be on Infra CI because deletion of artifacts on a repository should be done on trusted CI.
Ah, okay, good. All right. So location trusted.ci. Great, thank you.
However, there might be other implementation. Maybe there is already something inside Artifactory itself.
Ah, right, okay.
So I'm not assuming any implementation right now. We need to determine the frequency, the impact of such deletion in terms of resources on Artifactory, and I guess Darren already had ideas.
Well, and I like your idea that it would be even better if we didn't have to store Artifactory credentials even for one repository anywhere, right? Better if we could do it inside Artifactory. Good, thanks.
I would not mind writing an RFE to JFrog if they don't provide such a mechanism on their thing. I mean, they ask us to keep the storage at bay. So, I mean, that means they have to provide their user a way to do it.
Okay.
Then I think move collection of stats out of Kosuke Home. That's for way, way later. So it stay in triage. Deploy Jenkins prototype on Netlify. I propose we add. So it's one for the new Jenkins prototype stuff with Jan and Tim. That one could be a quick one. Let me check. Stefan, that could be interesting for you to do. It's a low risk for the upcoming 2 weeks. And that's also a way to check the Netlify access. We can discuss that later. I propose we move it on the milestone. It's a support level 1 request, and that's an easy and low risk one. Support skip CI on default branch. That one require discussion on the developer mailing list before implementation. That shouldn't be hard on CI Jenkins IO. My proposal is that we delay that to March because it's a highly specific use case. Is that okay for you, Mark and Bruno, since it comes from a developer of plugin?
Yes.
So we keep it in triage. WinP Jenkins CI looks like that one can stay in triage. Right now, Alex was picking the different solutions. There were 2 different paths. Looks like they are going on the GitHub CD GEP 299 section. That require broader discussion around the sensitivity of adding signing certificate inside the GitHub action. That will make more sense as per Basil pointers. Do we want to do that? That's a good question. I don't have any answer. We have to just restate the pros and cons, and I guess this one should be validated by the GenSec team and the board for me.
Right.
Once we have written. So delay to my return so we can start the discussion again. Is that okay for everyone?
Yes.
Scoop buckets. But that one is should be easy to do. So let's add it to the milestone. Stefan, you can ask for help to Bruno to be introduced to Valentin. Valentin speaks French, so if it's easier for you, don't hesitate to set up a meeting with him to have this discussion. That's also an easy one. Yep. If you don't have time, that's the lowest priority here, but still that's a support level 1 easy to have. All the other issues should be delayed for later.
So I had an open question on the DNF5 one. Is that one we should just outright move to the packaging repository? I don't remember if packaging has issues enabled, but if it does, that's really a packaging improvement, not.
No, that will be true if we would have moved PKG Jenkins IO to Azure and finished the split to use a separated environment to generate packaging. Right now, packaging generation is spread between packaging repository, the Jenkins Infra release pipelines and scripts, and Puppet code on PKG origin Jenkins IOVM.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
have
Well,
things that are generated by Puppet, and the GPG check, I'm sure there is a Puppet template with GPG check set to 0. Yep, packaging is not generated only by the packaging script. Yeah,
but I thought that that was inside the RPM is where he was proposing that change be made.
it's also on the RPM index, and the RPM index are
I
kept
see.
on the
Okay.
data
I see.
directory.
Okay. So that was a misunderstanding I had. Thank you. Okay,
No,
good.
no problem. That's worth investigating and challenging. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe what I remember is either other part of the RPM generation or on the Debian generation.
Mm.
So please challenge my assertion.
Right,
But
but
yeah, my memory
it's not
says, yeah,
obvious. Great.
exactly. That need research on the Puppet repository.
Okay, great. Thanks. That's it then.
And I propose that we schedule the GDK 21 in March when I'm back. When I will back, I will take other issues, but I guess Stefan and RJ should be able to drive this topic. Jay, Stefan, do you think it should be something interesting you?
Yes, why not?
When I'm back and when Jay
Yeah,
have
sure.
at least completed one update CLI, you will be in support of Stefan,
Cool.
mainly on working on, let's say, teeny updates. And Stefan, I will want to have you leading this. Let's challenge that when I'm back, but that's the idea. Is that okay?
Yeah, cool.
Okay, that's all for me. Do you have something else, folks? Okay, so I will update the notes later when my Firefox tab will be leaving again. First of all, I'm gonna stop screen sharing. Okay, so for people watching us, see you next week or in 2 weeks in my case.
Bye.
I'm stopping recording. Bye bye.